Uhuru, welcome to the breakdown. This program is brought to you by the African National Women's Organization, ANWO, a mass organization under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. The breakdown is a monthly news, analysis, and opinion program, as well as a platform for highlighting guests whose issues spotlight the international plot again of colonized women fighting colonialism. My name is Coco Lewis. I'm the Executive Information and Education Coordinator for ANWO and the MC of the Breakdown. This is a special Harriet's Daughters Book Club study group coordinating committee takeover. I'm joined today by my comrades, including AMWO Regional Representative Mecca Shakur and Don Hammond, a member of the coordinating committee, which is also an active member of the Huru movement. Welcome, Mecca. Welcome, Don. They also serve as integral parts of the Harriet's Daughters Book Club and Study Group Coordinating Committee. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Don, you are actually on the, what is the full name? The
Donald
youth
Hammond.
working group.
The Youth and Student Working Group. Join
Yes,
the
I
Youth
didn't.
and Student Working Group of the Black is Back Coalition. Search us up on the Facebook and reach out to President Emmanuel Uhuru.
Uhuru. And Mecca, is Mecca back with us? There's Mecca. Uhuru Mecca. In addition, so Mecca does have a bio that she sent to me. So let me make sure I read it out. Mecca Shakur has been working in the African community for over 25 years, organizing for revolutionary change. First with the Black Writers Liberation Party, and is currently a member of the African National Women's Organization and the African People's Socialist Party. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Correct. Yes. So Uhuru comrades, and today we are discussing how reality TV shows starring African women or Black women are not merely entertainment, but a powerful instrument that reflects and it reinforces the values of a capitalist system. This program will focus on how these shows commodify human relationships, exploit labor, and uphold ideologies that serve the ruling class interests. We're not here to judge African women. We're here to expose the system. Before diving into today's program, let me remind you that the African National Women's Organization, AMWO, is the only anti-imperialist, anti-colonialist, revolutionary, African internationalist membership organization for African women who organize around the pressing local, national, and international issues that add to the special oppression of African women and femmes. Our vision is to create a world where African women have agency and are valued and protected and are the makers and the shapers of a new society. If you enjoy our content, consider becoming a member. If you're not an African woman, or would like to financially support AMWO and the AMWO Liberation Center, our goal for this broadcast is to raise $250. We can donate at any time during this program by going to amwoohuru.org slash donate or on Zelle at info@amwoohuru.org. You can wear the revolution by purchasing merchandise from amwoohuru.org slash storefront. See, if you like this hoodie I got on, this is my favorite hoodie. Or at decolonize.com, which I don't have full size decolonize products in stock right now. Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our platforms. Comment where you are watching from right now. Just if you're watching, comment where you're watching from. And we are streaming live on the Burning Spear TV and African National Women's Organization YouTube channels and on the NWO page on Facebook. I think that is it as far as where we are broadcasting now. We are streaming live on the Burning Spirit TV. I'm sorry, we are encourage you to share this program with your network and comment shared in the chat. Chat with us live during this program by typing in the comments. I'm really excited about today's program. I'm excited to have my comrades Mecca and Don on the show because we organize on a regular basis and discuss, pop culture and things like that on a regular basis through the Harriet's Daughters Book Club and study group sessions. So I'm glad to have kind of share y'all with the masses here because we normally behind the scenes and today we're in front of the scenes, taking over for our leadership and comrade President Yesterday. Jay Amiche, our producer, is still in the background. Though she's not on screen unless she wants to pop in on us, she, feels the need. And our comrade Miriam is, who is our researcher, is in the background as well and has created this PowerPoint that I think that would drive our discussion today. Can we pull that up and let's start with, I need to take this gum out of my mouth, but it is so hard because, can we bring up that, that's, I believe is in Canva, the presentation. And we can use these slides to drive us a bit here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Is it in the background, Jay? I'll bring it up here. Okay. So, baddies and racial capitalism. So racial capitalism is the process by which the economic value is extracted through racialized identities, bodies, and social relations. It is the exploitation of race as a capital where racialized people, aesthetics, conflicts, and cultural expressions become resources for profit. So I want us to go ahead and discuss just this. We can start with discussing this. And then Jay has up. That's not the right presentation. It's in the it is in the breakdown topic. You have that, Jay? Here. All right. There we go. So I want to invite Don and Mecca to, and Miriam, if you're in the back, if you want to share as well, Jay, what we think about. Let's show this, put it some context to that. Apologies here. Go ahead if we can share it.
Welcome to the Zeus Network's Baddies audition. This is about to be the craziest, the baddest one ever because we are in Miami, baby. We got creator of Baddies herself, Miss Natalie Nye. Gypsy. Dancehall queen herself, Spice. Are y'all ready?
I'm that girl. I'm that boss. That's all facts. Don't take that loss. It's lifestyle talk. Might throw these hands like a trick right out. It's on sight when I'm coming myself.
Oh, okay. We outside. Oh, ooh, ooh. Why are you okay, okay. Go.
Hurrah. So from this perspective here, we can see how, you know, the baddies, and I'm not just making it, you know, about this show specifically, but this is a common show. This is a very popular show. The Zeus Network is a controversial, but, you know, very popular, you know, media source. So the most glaring features of Baddies is the relentless focus on physical altercations, verbal abuse, and emotional turmoil that it, you know, creates amongst the cast members. Um, Looking at it from a culture to product point, um, also the damaging stereotype, and then the white gaze of the market. I mean, those are things that to discuss. Um, we can look at the hyper capitalization that comes with it as well. Like this show, it casts members who are bosses or baddies. You know, even when you look at the other networks, you know, the other popular shows like the Housewives series where it's black focused cast. I mean, they definitely do, you know, pretty much stereotype, you know, segregate their franchises where, you know, you have like the Potomac, which is, you know, mostly black cast, and then you have, you know, Atlanta, which is a mostly black cast, and then you have Miami, which is mostly, you know, Latinas. So you see that is done strategically with those shows, and but we want to look at other ways that, you know, this hyper capitalistic illusion, you know, is catered to the people. Also, the neo-colonial governance, like especially specifically with the baddies, because the owner of the Zeus Network is the African male, and the, you know, producer, the main person for baddies is an African female, and we see how the power structure within these shows mirrors the neo-colonial product, which ultimately is all under colonialism, and the how they want to this political and sociological warfare against African people and the African psyche. So going back to the what was presented, the racial, the radical racialized. I'm so sorry. Radicalized racialized capitalism. Is that what the slide was? I'm so sorry. Harold.
Cringe as hard as I did from this teaser trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely gives large amounts of a cringe here. Okay.
Most definitely. They're put out there, in some of the worst light. And I'm glad you pointed out the neo-colonial aspect, because you would think, since it was, a black CEO or Natalie Nunn having African heritage, that, they would try to show us a light that positive, but at the same time, what sells, and when we look at, colonial society, that violence is what sells, so they want to see us out there acting a fool. And in doing this, I want to make sure that, like, we don't want to condemn the sisters, because we know, these sisters, they just fighting for a better life, because I was thinking about how Huey talked about defining phenomenon, making it act in desired manner. Whether we like it or not, Baddies is a phenomenon. Everybody's watching it. But these girls, I almost look at them like soldiers, because they actively fight and engaging. But imagine if we were able to turn that around and revolutionize it. And they could take that same fight that they put in and put it into the struggle. We have some cold soldiers, so.
Unmute, Auntie. Auntie, unmute.
You know I'm on mute. Thank you. I'm so sorry. It's a little look. Now I get where yesterday is coming from. Like I'm like trying to help produce on the back end and organize the show. This is this is a bit overwhelming. So, but I'm trying to get it together here. This is my first time doing the whole joining with Jay with the producing and Miriam in the background too. Um, but I definitely unite what you said, and like we have to look at turning, like not I wouldn't even say turning, but redirecting our African people to liberal, to liberalize, to the liberation struggle versus focus on Jay, what we okay, there we go. And then changing that structure to just to be down for our communities. And it's really changing because we have to decolonize the way that we every aspect of our lives. The decolonization process is in every aspect of our lives, but kind of like a domino effect. Because once we decolonize the way that we look at one thing, it's easier to funnel into other things. So what is this hypercapitalization? That aspect, that racial capitalism, as Miriam just highlighted, that's something that we have to overturn within our community first. And I respect the idea of dual and contending power, because there's something revolutionary about the Zeus network, but it's still into the neocolonial line. We need to be able to have discourse that shows real African life, as African internationalists, internationally, how African life is in a realistic view. Um, yeah, let's pop this up here. So Miriam is sharing her screen now, sharing the labor without protection. So cast members are workers, but their labor, emotional, physical, and reputational is rarely protected. The more chaotic the environment, the more valuable the footage. This is 1000% true. This is a racial capitalist arrangements where the risk is placed on the bodies of African women. Profit is collected by media owners, and harm is refrained from content. So one of the videos, I wonder if we can pull it up if we have access to it. One of the videos I shared with the Harry's Daughters Book Club and with the Infonet team was a social media. They do social media reaction. Nosy for Real was talking about the situation where Tommy Lee is being sued, and Zeus is being sued, and everybody to deal with this Baddies show is being sued because Tommy Lee, which we know, if you ever watch Love and Hip Hop, where Tommy Lee was on it, Tommy Lee has a drinking problem. That's why I said we're not out here to, like, it is entertainment. So I understand why people watch it. And I do want to discuss that as a discussion question as well. But further on, let's talk about this aspect of it, this neocolonialist, capitalist aspect of it. Because Tommy was, I guess she was, other girls was yelling at her and throwing stuff at her. And so she threw a shot glass, but it missed everybody, missed the other participants and hit somebody that was just there at the event. And so he was on TV looking like he had a black eye, the eye was swollen and everything like that. But people, the amount of people, the club was packed because people knew that the Baddies were going to be there. They knew that the Baddies was going to be there. So, with this behavior that most of us say we don't agree with, but we definitely participate as viewers in this. So with us, being participants in, how do we change this? We know what they're coming after as revolutionaries and comrades, and us specifically, we're on a political education aspect, even though we may work in other aspects within the movement. We join together in the political education aspect. How do we decolonize people, or lead to that, to the awareness of changing their behavior there. Not, I wouldn't even say their behavior, but what they use their work for. Because I need them to still be fighting, but be fighting for the fight for liberation, you know?
Well, I did want to add. Are you sure you know I want to stay on
Yep,
page?
come
Why did
on.
it? Okay, so I wanted to that slide that you had pulled up, comrade. I wanted to add something to that, and it was the labor one, the production or labor without protection slide. Can we pull that back up?
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Yep. Miriam.
Our producer extraordinaires.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Yes. Okay, so I wanted to add a little bit of that, and so I wanted to talk about the main contradiction here. And it's that the cast provides all of their value, and their value is their labor, their lives, and their culture. But the profit capital is extracted and controlled by the network owners. The women are sold the dream of a quote big break and financial independence, which is a false form of consciousness, while the economic structure ensures they're temporary disposable workers who do not own the product of their labor. They fight each other for status and screen time rather than recognizing their collective exploitation by the ownership class. And so that to me adds on to what the cast members are sacrificing here. Not only do they go unprotected, but they go spread to their thinnest point because we're seeking this false consciousness thinking that it's going to lead us to our big break. Not only is that consumerism like the comrade Kyle is talking about in the chat, but that's also what the chairman teaches us called sectorism, the division of struggle into isolated competing factors. Uhuru.
Yes, that was in the talking points as well. I love that. And then I think I go in to show in this analysis the show promotes sectorism by presenting a world where the primary conflict are between African women themselves. So yes, I definitely unite with that. But I also want to, break down, go in more. It says it teaches the audience that the main threat to an African woman's well-being is another African woman and not the colonial state apparatus, which is, we would say the police, the prisons, economic exploitation that oppresses us all. And this destroys the concept of a unified African personhood and places in a hyper individualism and internal strife. And that's one of the things that I feel like is one of the main threats to reality shows like this is the hyper individualism, because it's all about increasing your increasing your representation, increasing your financial status. And it doesn't even take, I mean, you get siblings and family members that fight each other over this. So there's no tribalship within the family when you have these situations. That's how toxic and a risk it is. Oral. Let's go. Mecca, is there anything? I know you got your phone ringing. Is there anything else you want to contribute before moving on from this slide? All right, Miriam, can you give us another slide? Go ahead, Mecca. Mecca, if you're talking, you're on mute. All right, so the sapphire caricature, that is something that we discussed as well as a committee, and also we discussed as a info and ed committee as well. So the stereotype gained widespread recognition is named from the character Sapphire Stevens in the highly popular Amos and Andy radio show in 1928 to 1960, and later television show 1951 to 1953, which featured an all-black cast but was created initially voiced by a white man. So when we talk about the sapphire caricature, we talk about the commodification of the African body and how that is reinforced to the colonial gaze of the white power norms. So you will see that they often are, exaggerating their bodies, you know, and that's, the whole BBL culture, they all have, I wouldn't say they all, but you see more of that within this network of women that they use to, represent Black womanhood. So the dynamic is packaged and sold to a global audience of how African are represented, in the media and in general. So internationally, this becomes a primary representation of Black womanhood, catty, aggressive, incapable of unity, directly undermining African internationalist ideas of solidarity, reinforcing colonial era stereotypes that have long been used to justify the oppression and the attack on African women global. And then so you do see this and then it all wraps back up together. So when you see these women, they out here, like mentioned in the slide, their personalities, the way they dress, um if you want to dress half naked, that's up to you, but if you want to be fully clothed, that's up to you as too. And we should, as African women, we should have the autonomy and agency to be able to dress how we want without face of repercussions due to a colonial gaze and the misogynistic gaze. But at the same time, dressing revealing should not be the representation of Black womanhood as it is now, or in a certain characteristics that come out with that as well. For real. Don, you want to go ahead and
I did have something, but I wanted to run it through the interwebs before I ask. I did. No, because listen, I'm looking, y'all see what I see on the screen, right? Which camera we working with here? This one, no, this one right here. Y'all see what I see on the screen. Y'all see the pasties. Y'all see the half open cut dresses and stuff like that. I was actually asking, well, what is the African internationalist perspective? Because you was talking about the way women dress, or the way they would
yeah.
like to dress. I want to know, Auntie, what is the African internationalist viewpoint on sex work?
So we understand that sex work is, and we've had programs on this. I think our last breakdown was the rent is due. I mean, it's really, we understand that women do what they have to do in order to, provide for their families, but also the reason why we in these situations that we have to do this work to provide for our families is due to the colonial capitalist system. If we wasn't trying to make our ends meet, and it also creates, a subculture as well, because you have generationally women who, have this mentality of, this is how we pay our bills, this is what we do. And so it's something that we don't, is one of those things, just like this, watching and performing into uh, this reality TV is not just about the women. It's not about the women. It's about the system that makes the us have to do or feel that we have to do in humiliating caricatures of ourselves and do the actions that we have to do for our sex work. It goes
Mm.
to the system of oppression.
Uhura, Auntie, I want to unite with that answer. And I do want to tell you that the interweb Shirley Caesar's internet did give me a little some. It said from an African internationalist viewpoint, the African sex worker is not a quote center or a purely empowered entrepreneur. They are understood as a colony within a colony facing the most extreme form of economic and social oppression. And I want to highlight that as we talk about and we focus on um, Black women, right? We understand that Black women are some of the lowest earners, right, due to the capitalist system here in the United States, and it feels to me as if Black women who are, like Malcolm X said, the most disrespected type of people, I'm paraphrasing, but we all know the quote. Um, so for me, I'm feeling like you're taking the most beleaguered demographic, right, and making them ostracize. Is ostracize even the word? It ostracize themselves, right? Exploit and just this constant cycle of exploitation where Black women are painted in this light as to where they're their own worst enemies. However, this had to have started from a base point understanding, and that base point is being understanding the low space on the hierarchy that African women occupy. So I just what do you I'm going, I feel like I'm rambling, Auntie, but I feel like there's something there in that cycle of understanding that the Black woman is the lowest the totem pole or in the capitalist social hierarchy, and then pushing forward this game show where you have to fight against you. It's giving Hunger Games.
It's very much Hunger Games, but that's the point. And a lot of the dystopia. We are again Harriet's Daughters Book Club Coordinating Committee, so we know that in a lot of the dystopia fiction and stories that go out are based on really the political and social economic infrastructures that are already implemented against African people. That's where they get it from.
Mm.
Right.
I'm gonna give Kyra Mecca her. Hey, Mecca, your background looks beautiful. I like the books in the background. It looks so good.
You my library. I love it. But no, I think you guys are making great points. I kind of dropped off because I was getting a call, but yeah, like Don said, they pick people from the most vulnerable elements of society, and so it's no different from a woman that had to do sex work to survive. Like I know it was one episode I was watching where Tommy came in on a horse, I mean on an elephant. She came in on an elephant or a camel. It was something of that nature, and she made this big spectacle. And she started getting into a fight with one of the cast members, Rolly. And Rolly, ultimately she didn't want to fight. She was like, I'm tired of embarrassing myself. Like she had a moment where she broke. She really didn't want to
Yeah.
fight. At the same time, her daughter just graduated college. She like, I got my daughter just graduated. So the dynamic is at the same time her daughter's embarrassed by what she's doing. That money that she made humiliating herself is probably what paid for her college tuition. So,
Absolutely.
the situation they're forced in, because poverty is violence. So
Uhuru. Yeah, I definitely unite. And we have to. What is it? I've been reading a lot. I'm probably lumping proletariat. Am I correct, Becca?
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
Hmm.
Yes. So that's what we want to. That's where we want to direct people's work. So when Brody broke, somebody needs to slide Rolly, Annual, one of Annual's programs, because I feel like we understand. We're not judging. We don't judge the African woman for the decisions that you have to make. We're here to help and guide you and provide the strategies to overturn this special oppression of African women. We know from the works that we read, you brought up African women being the most disrespected demographic, and that's something that in this is as Claudia Jones says, a triple oppression. Not just the double oppression, it's a triple oppression, and we have to, like, some of the things that we have read in the past, including Claudia Jones with Organized Fight When. We also we're looking at what did I want to bring up, because you were talking about it, the one before last.
Was it
The
The invention of women. I mean,
the
not the invention,
com-
refusing,
compulsory
refusing.
sexuality, and the author did talk about the place of women in that situation, and how just like Miriam brought up the sapphire caricature, as far as the stereotype of us, that goes back to how our sexual commodification. And that is the reason why we're so easily susceptible to, enter into sex work and enter into these reality programs that are just complete, you know, they are there to represent African, livelihood, lifestyles, but they couldn't be further away from how we normally live our lives, how normal people work. Normal people are not going and, even though the scammer culture is very abundant right now, I think that has a
Mhm.
lot to do with the reality shows as well, because they want to have these same, they want to be, able to get into these shows in order to generate, economics for themselves. So they end up, adapting to that's another symptom of this representation that we have. It creates this subculture of scammers, whose scammers are typically, due to association, they're going to scam other African people, other hard work, working class, poor African people. They're scamming those people in order to get to a point where they can be on these shows to generate some more, and financial resources for themselves. So, I mean, it's very cylindrical through all the, the paths, that the psychological warfare path, as far as the viewers and the people who are subject to that representation. What the cast members have to do in order to, I mean, it's a reason why they make alcohol so abundant, you know. Oh, thanks, Kay Pebbles, for this question. Can we change the appetite of such consumption? Can people no longer steer the media outlets to different content? That would be so if it was just African people watching it.
Mhm.
There's so much. The reason why these shows and these people are so popular, they're not popular on just, it's been proven time and time again that, Black numbers don't speak to the, don't always speak
Viewership.
it doesn't always speak to leadership, to viewership. Just because it's a Black show don't mean most of the audience is Black. Most of the audience can be of other persuasions. I mean, think about the outlets Shade Room and Vlad TV and who they're owned by. They reflect World Star Hip Hop. They reflect what is pushed as African culture, but they're not controlled by African people. They're controlled by very much colonizers. So, and those are the people who are watched. We are entertained. These are the modern day minstrel shows. Even when you talk about shows like of the Real Housewives, where they are, they are catty and disrespectful. Like, sometimes I'm like, you couldn't say that to me on the street because I will black your eye. Like it, you know. But the things that they have to like kind of swallow and make as fun, I mean, it's not for our consumption. It's not.
Mhm.
How many of us really are out here going to get a Birkin bag? I can't even afford it. That's a Birkin bag is more than my student loans. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
like it's more than everything I probably own in my house. As a working class woman, I would never have a Birkin bag. I wouldn't even have a knockoff Birkin bag because that's probably
Mhm.
still like 400.
So I don't think we need to like, oh my goodness. We bring to answer the question, we bring people into organization. We
Yes.
recruit, we do outreach. And once we get people in the movement, they ain't got time to watch nothing, nor do they have the desire because they will have political education abundantly available to them. And so yeah, that's how we change the appetite of such consumption. She said, and Kyle, she said Birkin bag. It's okay.
Well, I got a no, not a Birkin bag, a Birkin. Yes.
It's okay. It's okay.
Look, it's a lot of money.
Hmm.
Hermes Birkin, like I used to, like as somebody who used to work in the fashion industry, on the I and have my undergraduate degree in fashion design and merchandising. I understand where the capitalism, how that impacts what we do. Um, I don't have a schemer bone, but I definitely met a lot of schemers when it comes to working in the fashion industry, and I feel like that's what these shows are meant to keep us engaged into the colonial capitalist system. Is encourages us to go and be look we're the spenders, encourages because we see the tension. I like I study like kind of this psychology of fashion, which really was my like concentration, looking at several aspects of the fashion industry, far as the history, those that's just way back. But this is where all of that leads me to is the revolution, because I know that so much. My dream was to be a clothing manufacturer. That's what I wanted to do when I came out of undergraduate. I wanted to be a clothing manufacturer, a la Oscar de la Renta. More I got into the fashion industry, more I realized how Black and brown people and Asian people were just commodities, how they use our intelligence, they use our skills, they use our work. If y'all seeing how some of y'all garments were created under the conditions, it should sicken you. It should sicken you how some of our garments and stuff are made and how unethical those people are being treated. And even from the I worked, I'm not going to say which design firm I work for, but my job was to work 60, 70 hours a week sitting at a computer creating the clothes that most people wore during that time for mass, because I wanted to in my mind I thought I would be providing jobs for African people, incubators for African creatives to come and be able to create their wear. But the problem with that is that we have to change how we look at um, we have to change how we look at the system, how we look at each other. We can't have colonial capitalist aspirations. And that's what most of us are having. So how do you change people's viewership without changing the way that they think, the way that they interpret life? Once I accepted that, like, hey, I am a socialist, I am a communist, I believe in African internationalism. Once I came into that, I could no longer go in those spaces and do the same things that I knew that were going to lead to the oppression of other African and indigenous people. And I think that's how we have to change the masses, is to provide political education in a way that is receptible. So that's why as AMWO we have AMWO book club. We got R&DP studies for those that want to go ahead and get into the study, and then we're starting African Harris Daughters film circles next year for 2026, so that we're able to, because everybody's not a reader. So we have to be able to diversify the way that we interact with people in order to change the social collective thought. Uhuru. I know that was probably a lot.
Oh no, Auntie, I loved that. That was amazing. Thank you, Uhuru.
Yeah, I hope that answered the question. Let's get back into the reality situation. Um, let me see which slide I want to. Miriam, either throw up a slide up there, or let me go ahead and pick a slide here because I have it up here, and I feel like it's a lot of our. Let's discuss Natalie Nunn, and speaking of um, the neocolonial um, capitalist um, function there. And we use her as example because we know that in addition, and that's because she's over Baddies, which reason why we bring it up Baddies is because it's the most overt and most, I would say polarizing show out right now. But we can go ahead and bring up, I included in my talking points, information from other reality shows that reflect African women and African people in general. But Miriam, are you able to bring up that Natalie Nunn slide?
And then, Auntie, I kind of wanna juxtapose that Willie Lynch hoax, right? And go with me for a second here, right? Both
Mm-hmm.
Baddies and the mythological Willie Lynch letter basically create this narrative where Africans are their own worst enemy, right? And I'm seeing a connection there, and I'm wondering, could you do something with that? Do you see what I'm doing, trying to do there?
No.
No, okay, so the Willie Lynch letter basically presents Africans as their own worst enemy, right? Presenting
Mm-hmm.
our own psychology as the reason why there's any infighting, right? And same thing
Okay.
with Baddies here. Baddies is, putting all of these black women, these African women in one space, and they're having these chaotic interactions. They are behaving in these ways, and I'm kind of thinking, is there a connection between those two things, this constant idea of Africans are their own worst enemy instead of the present and dominating systems, Uhuru?
I mean, of course. I mean, the relevancy of the Willie Lynch paper, rather, is real or unreal, is that it definitely calls out key contradictions that African people have that prevents us from becoming, that prevents us from having true African power. And we can discuss this in the spam of Natalie Nunn. And so what's on the screen, that research here, is that portrayals of the tragic mulatto emphasize her personal pathologies, self-hatred, depression, alcoholism, sexual perversion, and suicide attempts being the most common. If light enough to pass white, and which she did, but passing led to deeper self-loathing, she pitied and despised black people and the blackness in herself, and she hated or feared white people, yet desperately sought their approval. And like, as somebody who used to watch Bad Girls Club a little bit and saw it when she was on it, you saw a definitely conflicting. She's definitely totally different. She was okay with I felt like she was okay with pursuing white societal things until she realized how
How
what I want to
marketable,
say.
I would say, not to interrupt, but how marketable Black culture is. Because
Exactly how marketable. Exactly, that's just what I wanted to say. How marketable being black is, and now she became this overt black stereotype, and even more created another realm. I mean, you got to understand, this is all for her. And going back to individualism, this is all for her economic and her for her to have power. The thing about colonialism or capitalism is the pursuit to power. Using racialized capitalism is to get power. She wants power to be able to, if you power in the wrong way, is going to be detrimental to African and all people. And that's what we can come down to. That's one of the reasons why I would say that I really bought into the theory of African internationalism, because I knew that it's not just about racism. Racism is just an excuse for white power. Is there That's how they pursue white power. It's not about, I hate that they don't really care about African people as long as they're able to use our labor. And that's what neocolonialists do as well, because they look up to the colonizer. They are now the middleman of the colonizer by colonizing African people, so that we see like, oh, they colonize themselves. Like, they have that the whole saying of African people sold ourselves into slavery. That's what they use to those middlemen. That's what they use to, again, to create division within the African nation and African people, and also continue their power. They use, people like these. What is the dude Lemmy, for who is the owner of Zeus, and
yes,
very and very complex, dynamic, and controversial person in his own right. And
right.
like, I think even like when she talk about sexual perversions, everybody has their way of behaving socially, sexually, and you should have the freedom and autonomy to do it based on what your except for pedophilia, but you should be able to express yourself and sexually the way that you want, or that you feel naturally. But on the other side of that, you have to be responsible for that. And some women are doing it just because they thank you. They're doing it just because it's trendy. So get out of the all right. All right, Mackie, you got something else you want to say towards this?
Just the point that Don was saying about how the Willie Lynch letter correlates, because when we look at the situation where whether the Willie Lynch letter is real or not, you have all those tactics that were being utilized by, of the slave master to create conflict and division amongst the slaves, or the enslaved. I don't want to say slaves, but enslaved Africans. And same thing when you look at what's going on with the Baddies situation. They put a bunch of people in, these small places, small quarters, and then they create beef. Or they'll find people that, were beefing on, the internet, beefing on social media, and let's put them together. And, same thing with love and hip hop. So all these conflicts are instigated as a way to create division. And unfortunately, we live in a situation where, life often imitates art and art imitates life. So you'll see, people reacting, or doing those same things. I was watching a little earlier. Shout out to Queen Urbane. She has a podcast where she was talking about the correlation between reality TV content and the aggressive behavior we see in the community. And there's a big correlation. So you see people, living out, their, what they see on Baddies. Those,
Yeah,
those kids,
especially with the youth.
yeah, those kids that beat up their mama in Chicago. You can't tell me they didn't watch Baddies. And little girls that
Correct.
know they were influenced by that. So, we have people that are now desensitized, but then they also want to act it out because it seems like, I got power. I'm standing on business. Ain't nobody messing with me. But at the same time, it's, definitely bringing us down. So.
And not unite. And as long as we're fighting each other, we're not fighting the system. So, and I liked here where when even when the violence is framed as empowerment or winning, it is still serves the economic structure. Economic structure that depends on Black women engaging in conflict for audience consumption. Like beyond of, and now let's bring up that situation we're in Chicago because that's very relevant. And if you're not watching these shows, then you don't understand what our kids are being exposed to. I will bring that up because even though we're these shows are not attracted to us, we know based on their popularity they're attracted to some people. So when you look at like who they're attracting to is these young women, these young girls, these young femmes, these young burgeoning trans people, who see these situations on TV. They see these people are getting, and this is how people are getting money. So they're looking at this as like I would say 10 years ago, nobody thought being an influencer was a reasonable or logical career path. But here it is some of these kids' influences. That's their aspiration. I asked some of my nieces and their friends, like, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, yeah, I want to be a social media influencer. I'm like, a what? Yeah. So this situation where the young boy, the mother, and look, I'm gonna try to keep my person. I had to stop talking because my Coco for real was gonna come out. But you can't tell me that the way because this whole situation was recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in a society that even when it came down to these kids accepting responsibility, they did not. Their parents are sitting here trying to, rationalize their children's actions. And like you said, if you think they haven't got learned this from Baddies, they mama probably watched Baddies, and that's how they end up watching it. That's how they learned this behavior.
Especially that 12-year-old girl, like when you see her and she's
Yes,
to the mama, she's like, come, like, she swung on her first. So now she's in a situation where, it didn't turn out in their favor because people were condemning them. And she's saying, oh, I was a follower, but hell, it looked like he was a leader. But
yes.
no different from a
You
significant.
follow. She is right. She is a follower. She's following the culture that is presented to African people. This
Right,
is
right.
what it show. You're not going to show situations of African people on mass networks using transformative justice, expressing contradictions, overcoming personal contradictions, being held responsible and accountable, like the way we are as African internationalists and the Hoover movement, how we are being held accountable, how you can have contradictions raised against you that are not personal, but they are there to help you develop. There's nobody, these trauma, like, can we go to the trauma bonds? I think that was like one of the discussions that we had to. I want to step down off this situation, and thank you, Miriam, for bringing up that issue with the African mother, her kids being attacked, and how just ridiculous that was, but very much influenced by reality TV and streaming content such as Baddies. and other ones, just the way we could bring up 20 V1s, and how ridiculous they are with the commodification of African women in a patriarchal sense. We can bring that up as well. Like how, and because it's not just baddies, it's all this faux reality TV, programming that is geared towards young adults and children.
Right. Most definitely, and then it's all tied to colonialism. So I even think about the inferiority complex, of these women that participate. So you have a lot of women who they don't like their self-image, but they're like, oh no, I'm about to go out here and I'm about to rumble. And then once, I get this bag, now I'm about to turn into this Eurocentric
Right.
set. And we
Poor
see it on
Christian Rock, she walk around with that missing tooth. It's like, sis, put the cap in. Like,
I was just watching her live last night. That mess that
and
I was
they
just watching her
come on,
crash out.
I really do want to sit down with Christian Rock and like raise some contradictions. But once I raise these contradictions as your sister, your comrade, I'm gonna help you get through them. You're
right,
not
right.
just going to sit up here and, as a comrade, I can't watch Mecca destroy herself.
Right. Oh, y'all, we got a super sticker.
Yay! Is an unemployed scholar. Yes.
Yes.
I love it
Yes,
when you
yes,
come
yes.
through and support us. Yeah. So, I think holding each other accountable in a real way is important. Like we're not I'm not trying to be petty if I come to Don with something. I like President yesterday raised a contradiction. I'm not gonna say it because this is a mass program, but I talked about it at the retreat. Like raise a real contradiction that I had to deal with because it was completely right,
Hmm.
completely accurate, and has put me on a path to try and overturn that contradiction for good and doing what I need to do because it has to become a priority. We have to be accountable to each other, and it has to be accountable to each other in a respectful way. So that's one of the reasons why I love being a part of AMWO and the Hoover movement, because if a contradiction is raised to me, I know it's not to be petty. I know it's only for me to be a better comrade. It's only for me to be a better force and to be a better person myself.
Exactly. We got to sharpen each other,
Right. Steel sharpen steel.
right?
Okay. We look, and the fighting formations just came into my head with Sun Tzu. Um, hey, look, if you're not on a Harry's Daughters book clubs, you're missing out. We discussed some really good material. And I'm always glad for us to diversify what we're talking about. So I'm glad that we are having this discussion on social media as a colonial tool.
Because we can
Um,
ignore not to interrupt, but we can ignore it. But at the same time, like again, like you said earlier, we're above that. But at the same time, that's getting ahead of the people and thinking we're,
correct.
ahead of the people because it is a
Hmm.
phenomenon, something that's watching a lot of Black families throughout the country, hell, the world, and we know that it's helping to shape, how people act, how they relate. So if we don't deal with it, it's going to deal with us. But I
For
think
sure.
Not only that, but it is the prevailing form of communication. Forms of communication update and change as human society does. And if we cannot ignore a whole mode of communication and think that we're going to reach the masses.
right.
I unite. Um, what else? I'm trying to go through our did we talk what did we talk about? What we talking about? Talking about
Ain't talking about nothing.
so I know, right? We all like that. I want to discuss distraction as the real struggle. And that goes to, African internationalism is a call to political action against the imperialist system. It views mass media as a key tool for distracting the colonized masses from their true objective conditions and their revolutionary potential. With the analysis of Baddies, and I would say social media reality TV and streaming as general, the show is a potent distraction. Instead of organizing against police terror, economic disposition, or the colonization of Africa itself, the audience political energy is drained into following the latest feud or scandal between the cast members. Fosters a politics of gossip and personal drama, replacing the necessary politics of national liberation. So, with that, to go ahead and break that down, we can discuss how the things that are happening that we're not discussing as a mass. And I feel like this reality TV and streaming, as it is now, is more potent than the organizing that was able to be done in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, because this is, if it tunnels us as a mass culture where our alliances should lie. As I have been in situations, and this is one of the reasons why I kind of became a working class intellectual instead of an academic intellectual, was that when I go into situations, I aspired when I was, in my petty bourgeois bag, my petty boo bag, I wanted to become a lawyer and work for, really work for intellectual property, which falls into a line with, my former aspirations to be a clothing manufacturer. I thought that I would still be going into these conversations, these academic environments, representing working class people as as my number one citizenship, and thinking I'm going to have these Black intellectual conversations, like in the Harlem Renaissance. Like I was going to be sitting down there with some James Baldwin's types and Norzil Neale types. But when I told these women that I didn't watch Scandal, they physically turned their back on me. Like, how much of a distraction is that? Here we are in my
You didn't enjoy that African woman getting done over in closets, and you didn't enjoy that. Ugh.
No, because what did it have to do with liberating African people? I was still all on that. I just wanted to find my own path to African liberation. Like I was able to do it in a way that's change within the system instead of dual and continued powers. Now, am I still down to have a clothing manufacturer spot now? Yes, but it's going to be in the lines of African internationalism and for the working class state, and not in the capitalistic way that I was intending. So I'm still with that. But we have to look at, like, this is a distraction to how we are, how we need to funnel people back into organization. The society that we're in right now, and I wouldn't just really say we're in a dying colonialism. All the things that people are griping about this current, U.S. snakes administration, it is all symptomatic of a dying colonialism. Colonialism is fighting for its dear life. So that's why we're seeing these things which are going to make life harder for us as African people. And unless we start organizing to support each other, to create dual and contending powers through mutual aid, community involvement, unless political education, unless we go ahead and organize for these things, we're going to just be left with a different oppressor. We're going to trade oppressors. And I'm not down to trade oppressors. I'm down to be free. I don't know about y'all.
No,
Right. No, I agree. Oh, go
Uhuru.
ahead.
Go ahead, Mecca.
I was gonna say no, I definitely agree because it is a distraction, and what happens, like you said, all these conditions that we see, shutdowns and stuff like that, capitalism is always in a state of crisis, and so the conditions are always ripe for revolution. And at the same time, like George Jackson would say, if we don't organize, we're going to allow them to reform themselves. And like you said, Coco, then we have another oppressor. But I think the way that we're able to get the people from being distracted is to kind of go back to the old school ways of organizing. So right now we have this digital age. Everyone, is on social media, and sometimes you see a lot of things happen that way. But in order to get the people, we got to go out to the people. Revolution won't be televised. Sorry, not to contradict Kendrick, but the revolution realistically is not going to be televised. Like, that's one thing that our enemy learned. They've seen the way the Black Panther Party was able to grow so fast because of the fact that they was always in the news. They was like, okay, you feel me? We're not going to let y'all do that. So if we do put you out there, we're going to put you in a negative light. Or if we do put you out there, we're going to cop your message. So we have to get out there. And how do we prevent, the next group of girls that's coming up from striving to be baddies? Is that we teach them something different. That's what they're saying. And we're out there showing them, this is what it can be, or this is what it should be. And I think we'll have greater success. You know, I,
Yes.
the youth always lead the way. And, because you think about one of the oldest people on the Baddies cast is Natalie Nunn. But a lot of the people that, are making the show right now, these are the young people she recruited. So we need to get, young people and revolutionize, and we're going to see, everything follow from that. So yeah,
Uru.
Yes.
we got to get out there and get to that so-called lumpen proletariat because, again, if we're not organizing them, they're going to be organizing against us. So
Correct. And that goes back to that Willie Lynch, comment you made. If we don't organize them, they're going to be organized against us. And that's where you get that into that, Black people are their own worst enemy because that's why we can't get past each other. And that's a strategic, one of the things that Chairman taught from the very beginning. Said the attack on Africa and African people was a strategic attack. We can't pray our way out of a strategic attack, bro. We we have to get into this. We have to be our own liberators. We have to learn from his history. One of the things that we discussed in the last Harriet's daughters, virtual discussion was, how do we approach a modern revolution? And we can't approach a modern revolution without learning what the historical dialectics of the past. We have to learn from what our ancestors did. There's a lot of things that the Black Panther Party did right, and there's some things that they did wrong, and it's up to us as the future to go ahead and overturn the issues that they had. And I believe that African socialism, African internationalism is the theory to liberate African people because it's not culturally based. You don't have to come in here like I got locks, but I don't have to have locks in order to be in AMWO or the African liberation. You could have a 30-inch bust down. Long as you out here doing the work, I mean, it's up to you how you feel about that ethically, because that's the reason why I don't wear fake hair ethically, and I'm also allergic to fake hair. But you have to. That's the struggle that you have to deal with personally, but that's not something that you have to deal with as far as your work. You can come into the work. I used to wear heels and I wear makeup all the time, and and I will sit down and talk to you about theory of African internationalism. We'll talk about Thomas Sankara, Emil Carl Cabral, Harriet Tubman, like the real Harriet Tubman. I break down a book like Dark End of the Street on you with a political analysis, and that doesn't have anything to do with how I look on the outside as far as my aesthetics. It has to deal with the work that I put in, the work that I like to learning from my history, learning from, so I can go ahead and overturn and create a. I want to create a African, not we ain't gonna be a utopia because I don't believe in utopias, but I want the African working state so that my son has the agency and autonomy to identify how he wants to identify. If he wants to dye his hair blue, he can dye his hair blue, but he gonna be doing the work, and that's what it's all about: organizing for African liberation. So we have the autonomy and agency to be who we want to be on an individual basis. Right now, we don't have that opportunity to be who we want to be on an individual basis, especially if you are surrounded in oppressive communities where you have the pressure to in corporate America, depending on your organization, you have to fit into a certain aesthetic that makes being a baddie easier, because at least when you go into these environments, they're familiar with the baddie look, so they are more receptive of that look, versus if I come in there with a Zaire fro. I love Zaire's fro. Our executive director of membership and recruitment, I love Zaire fro. But I've been in interviews in corporate America where they just look at my hair the entire time. And we have to wear, I call them hair hats. We got to wear interview wigs as African women. These things shape how we are able to, organize and affect each other. But it's up to us to create that. We have to liberate ourselves. And that's only through organization, which includes political education. It involves fit our physical, as far as being fit for the fight. Shout out to Mecca with the fit for the fight.
Right.
We have to be strong enough in order to be liberators.
Right.
All right, so we're getting ready to wrap up. I know I always say this, and I'll probably talk more of this breakdown, any other breakdown, and I feel like how yesterday feel.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Talk more. I have to talk more, being an MC. But I definitely want to
You
thank my.
directing the conversation.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank Mecca and Don for being here. So before we close out, we got to get into the announcements. After the announcements, make sure you throw any. Again, this is a fun, like we have a urgent need of $250. If anybody can just toss that into our bank account, we do have an urgent need for $250. Far as the work of ANWO. ANWO is not just on the internet, so the interwebs, as Don say, we are in the communities. We need strong members to come and build ANWO in their local area, to build it internationally. We are gearing up for very, very big things in 2026, and it's going to take African women and supporters in order to get this happening. I want to open the ANWO Liberation Center next year. That is a goal that I have personally, and that all my work or strategic organizing, as far as the Midwest region, and as the Info and Ed director, is to get this Liberation Center open next year. We really, like, as African people, we need it. We need somewhere where we can come and be African people, okay, without any pretense or without any we can run our we need the ability to run our programs out of the ANWO Liberation Center. So I am really focusing to getting that done next year. So let me share the announcement screen. All right. So, as we're wrapping up today's program, I hope you're motivated to contribute to the programs of AMWO and the Liberation Center, which is going to be the mecca for African women in the overturning the special oppression of African women. Reminder again, $250 resource goals for today. And what is it? Not a nonprofit organization. So we operate off membership dues and donations and the revolutionary equity of African women and supporters. We are, if you enjoy our program today, I mentioned join the AMWO. We call on African women all over the globe to join the AMWO, the African National Women's Organization AMWO. Again, we are the only anti-colonial, anti-imperialist revolutionary organization for Black women. We have members in Africa, Europe, Latin America, and all around the United States. AMWO is leading on everyday issues concerning African women. We're not just on the internet, we're on the ground in our communities organizing for African liberation. Shout out to the women in Cleveland. We're going to organize soon. Join the International Collective of African Women, building women in the revolutionary capacity of African women. To learn more about membership and to join, visit amwouhuru.org/join. So I brought out some special things today. Are you able to, am I on the slide? Can you put me on the, Jay, can you change the view so I could be seen? In addition to, can I be seen? Is it, can I change the, all right, if you can see me, I brought real life Amwell merchandise. So not only do I have on my comrades hoodie, which it says comrades, she, he, they. Not only do I have that, I brought my bag. This is the duffel bag. When I say we got all types of merchandise, also got my fanny pack, which I love this fanny pack. So, and let's get us back into the view. Can we see the screen?
Sorry, y'all, I'm froze too.
No, we got you here. There we go. Let me share again. All right. So, wear your politics with Amwell. I've been drinking on even though my handle's broke, been drinking on my cup here. Some mugs, shower bags, hoodies, socks, sweatshirts, t-shirts. I have on an Amwell t-shirt underneath here too, but it'd be hard to show you. It's the Joe Waller and the Girls. Which is like one of my favorite t-shirts. Also, become a decolonizer. And that's what we call our distributors and customers that decolonize hair and body. Decolonize hair and body are natural personal care products that highlight ingredients and traditional care practices used by indigenous people all around the world. In addition to featuring images and quotes of African revolutionaries, they are good from our butters and our conditioners to our oils. Decolonize has you covered from head to toe. I have little Rebel oils on my desk because I use them to moisturize my locks. And then volunteer with us. So if you enjoy the programs that Amwell, produce year round, and you would like to help us produce shows or programs, Amwell is looking for interpreters, video editors, researchers, chat moderators, just anyone that's willing to share their skills and knowledge with Amwell and help us produce future programs and broadcasts. Email us at info@annualuhuru.org slash no, email us at info@annualuhuru.org if you would like to share your skills. Anwol is also on Discord. If you enjoyed tonight's programming and would like, if so, I'm sorry, I have the old slide up here. Anwol is on Discord. Visit us at or search us at Anwol Uhuru is a little space there in order to join our Discord. It is not just a it's not just a vibe. There is a war room. Is we going to have space for securing, organizing, real-time mobilization. So, if there's a mass mobilization out in the West, um, you know, Mecca or someone else to go ahead and post it to the Discord for us to mobilize. Global African Sisterhood. So we have we're going to have our Harris Daughters Film Circles in Discord. So if you want to go ahead and join on those programs, we're going to be information about branch building, core information about AMWO 101, like our the theory of internationalism, our principles of unity. All of that information is going to be real-time accessible on our Discord. So join us at AMWO Uhuru on Discord. Lastly, the Harriet's Daughters Book Club and Study Group, my crew here. Our merch, we host virtual monthly discussions. We also have in-person discussions that are led by African National Women's Organization, Mass Book Club, and Study Group that comes together to discuss books and other literature that centers on African liberation themes. We invite you to join the discussion regardless if you've read or not. The past couple months, they haven't even been books. They have been essays and articles that have been like 15 pages, 16 pages long. This month, not this month. In the month of December, we're going to be reading and discussing Women, Race, and Class by Angela Davis. It's a critical analysis by AMWO of how this book is a crucial framework for understanding how gender, race, and class are inextricably linked in the pursuit of justice. It is more than a history book, it's a call to action, and we will analyze using the science of African internationalism. Join the next discussion, which will be on Sunday, December 14, 2025 at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. And it's open to African women, femmes, and those who are in solidarity with AMWO. Visit amwouhuru.org/events to stay up to date on all upcoming international, national, regional, and local events and programs, and also on Discord as we continue to set it up to have the knowledge of the events or the publishing of events on the annual. There we go, on the annual Discord. So I'm excited about the Discord. Let me see if I can provide the Discord link in the chat. I know I have it up, so I just need to go ahead and provide it. Here we go. Come on. Invite people. All right. And let me put it in the chat here. I don't know why I tried to do just one screen today, which I do one screen. I do two screens typically when I do these, and when I'm not even producing, when I'm just emceeing. So I'm producing, emceeing, and being a presenter. So again, visit us on Discord. We are building on the Discord. We're building on Discord, which I really am excited about. I'm excited for the Harris Daughters Film Circle. Any questions come in while we, besides
No
the
questions.
link?
They just wanted the Discord link, and but I did have a last final comment. I
Go
wanted to
ahead.
I wanted to unite with all of the hard work that our Anvo's info and ed coordinator puts in to make sure that these programs um uh go off without a hitch. We may be her crew, but this is largely Auntie Coco's work. Okay, I just want to unite with all of the hard work that you putting in, Auntie.
Oh, yeah, it's a passion. Like when I say that revolutionary equity, that was, that is that's what drives us. As and I just got an IAC meeting. It's like we all got like personal things going on. Everybody has personal things going on, but it's that revolutionary equity that we want to change the world that we live in that drives us. Mecca is a tenacious comrade. Okay, Mecca was barely could walk and was in those meetings like organizing a fight to fit. Don, you are like my right hand person because sometimes I'm a little neurospicy. I'm a little
Just a little bit,
neurospicy and sometimes,
of spicy
and like I
element.
said, I'm a working class intellectual, so sometimes I need that academic support, and Don has that, and Mecca comes with the Mecca is such a fountain of revolutionary history. Different organizations that she has been a part of, just her outlook. She's the one who came up with the baddies thing because I'm like, I don't watch that, you know. And then I had to question myself why I don't watch it. And
Mm-hmm.
what about the comrades that do watch it, or the mass people who do watch it? And like, how can we get them into the revolution, get them into revolutionary work? I think a large part is we've been preoccupied with cultural nationalism as African people, and that's been a way for the petty bourgeois the petty bourgeois leaders are able to, getting comfortable with the African people because they approach them for where they are. And we have to, but as African people who believe in revolution, we should all believe in revolution. I said it before, like we should all be communists. I think that clip is somewhere on social media because
And
what you say, Mecca?
say, and just even, we definitely should all be communists. I think a lot of times when people think of communism, they're thinking of a Marxist, Leninist framework, but we're taking it back to our true African self because we're
Absolutely.
the original, you know,
Yes.
we
That's how
were
we
the
did it
first
as communities, tribes. That's how we did it. We
communalism.
took care of each other. But
Mm-hmm.
we have let
Marx.
capitalism. I shouldn't say we have let capitalism because we already know it was a strategic attack. The reason why we don't know our socialist side or how to be social because we've been ruled by the colonial capitalists for 500 years, and now it's time for us to throw down our burdens, as the gospel song said, throw down our burdens, and let's pick up the banner, pick up the flag, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and go ahead and do the work. Organize. We need to. This is a very important time, and I can't drill it in enough. Where it's time for African people to come together for African people. It's time for us to come together as communities to sustain and help ourselves. We can't afford to be individualists right now. We can't afford hyper individualism as everyday working class people. So we do have to hold our comrades who are in these reality TV, we have to hold them accountable. We have to win them to work, win them to the African struggle, because yes, they have the eyes of the masses. But if we're able to win them to, African internationalism, or being uh, with the African people and working on that behalf of African people, we can create our dual and contending powers easily.
Yes.
Look at the finances that goes into that. I don't want to be sponsored by Nike, but I'd rather be sponsored by, Do we
Make
want
the point.
Do we want to sell the anthology in all these black owned bookstores that came out with this book? Yes. How can we work together? Can,
I do want to
like,
make the point.
go ahead.
I do want to make the point that it is a lot of hyper individualism in the shows, but a lot of times these people that join the shows, they're sacrificing for their families. If they
Correct.
get booed by his teeth, they're like, okay, I may have, got a life of an injury, but now my kid, a house. Now we have, like you said earlier, some generational income. So there is a communal aspect to some of the people that join these shows. They're doing it so they can take care of their kids. They're doing it so they can take care of their family.
Yeah.
So just bring that in.
Yes. Bring it all in. Let us, instead of showing up to the club, let's show up to like a food swap, food giveaway. Let's show up, instead of showing up at the club, let's go ahead and have clothing drives. Let's make it more productive and sustaining for African people, not just uh not just as someone who grew up kind of petty bourgeoisie, where I went to schools that were all white. It was great that I was getting a better education, but the trauma that caused for me as an African child, and now African woman, with being around those environments that were not receptive of me. If I couldn't do their shuck and jive and they play, I was no good for them. you know so with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you everybody that joined. Again, don't forget to donate. Like I said, we have a urgent, $250 urgent goal to attain far as annual. If you're able to help us out with that, go to annualuhuru.org/donate, or on Zelle, you can go to Zelle us at info@annualuhuru.org. Check I'm trying to see, is this hand? Is it this hand? Yes. The QR code right here in the link. Join if you are African woman and you are looking for ways to organize. We have the only we have members in the South, but we don't have Southern regional leadership. But we are organizing in the East, the North, the West, the Midwest. Join AMWO. If you don't know where to go, or don't have any, if you just want to make a change, join AMWO. Find out about AMWO. We have cadre school coming up, our annual cadre school. I can't wait for that. Join one of the Harriet's Daughters book clubs discussions. And if you're not an African woman but still want to take part, volunteer with us. You can still come to Harriet's Daughters discussions, Harriet's Daughters Circle. Join us on Discord, and Uhuru on Discord, and visit us on all of our media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, which you plan on being bigger on. Subscribe to the African National Women's Organization on YouTube, and visit us on Facebook. So we are where you are, and help us build and grow. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Vanguard